Let me share with you a great secret. There are infinite states of consciousness, infinite worlds, infinite realities existing simultaneously in the imagination of God. And you, being God in expression, have access to all of these realities. The state in which you find yourself now is but one of countless states you could occupy. When I speak of parallel realities, I am not speaking theoretically. I am speaking of an absolute law that governs all of creation. The Bible tells us, in my Father's house are many mansions. These mansions are not physical structures, but states of consciousness, each complete and perfect in itself. Each state has its own world, its own experiences, its own relationships, its own circumstances. You are at this very moment stationed in a particular state, experiencing the world that corresponds to that state. If you don't like the world you see, then you must change the state from which you view it. You do this not by working on the world, but by working on yourself. Tonight I will show you how to use your imaginative power to shift from your present state to the state of your desire. For when you learn to move in consciousness, the outer world must follow, for it is only the shadow of your inner activity. Consider what this means. If your desire exists as a reality now in a parallel state, then you don't need to create it. Your task is not to create, but to shift your consciousness to that state where your desire already exists. You need only to enter the state that contains the fulfillment of your desire. How then does one move from one state to another? By the use of your imagination, controlled and directed with purpose and love. For imagination is the bridge between the realities, the vehicle by which you travel from state to state. Let me ask you, what would it be like if your desire were already fulfilled? How would you feel? What would you see? What would you hear? What would you touch? If your desire were true this very moment, how would your inner conversations run? For your inner conversations are perpetually shaping your world. The first step in shifting to your desired reality is to clarify exactly what you want. Not the means of achievement, but the end itself. Too many of you focus on the process, the how of achievement, when you should be focusing on the state of fulfillment. Remember, the means will unfold naturally when you have successfully shifted to the state where the end is accomplished. Now, having clarified your desire, you must construct a scene which, if experienced, would imply the fulfillment of your desire. This scene, properly constructed and experienced in your imagination, becomes the bridge between your present state and the state you wish to occupy. The scene must be one that is easily visualized. It should be natural, one that would follow the fulfillment of your desire. It should involve the use of as many senses as possible: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. The more senses you can incorporate, the more real your imagined scene becomes. For instance, if your desire is financial abundance, your scene might be a friend congratulating you on your new wealth, shaking your hand firmly, looking into your eyes with genuine pleasure. You would hear their voice, feel their touch, see the smile. You would experience the joy and relief of financial freedom. Having constructed your scene, you must then enter into it through the technique I call revision. Revision is not merely changing your thoughts about a situation. It is changing your perceptual experience of it. You revise by entering so completely into your imagined scene that it feels more real than your physical surroundings. You accomplish this by becoming physically still, closing your eyes to the world of sense, and then projecting yourself into your imagined scene. You must feel the reality of it, react to it emotionally, as though it were actually happening here and now. This is not mere visualization or positive thinking as commonly understood. This is an actual entry into another state of consciousness. When properly done, you will feel a shift within yourself, a change in your feeling tone, a new sense of self. This feeling is your signal that the shift has occurred. Now, many will ask, how long must I remain in this state before my outer world conforms to it? The answer varies, for time is relative to the intensity of your desire and the completeness of your imaginative act. Some desires manifest instantly, others take time to unfold in the world of sense. But remember this, the manifestation begins the moment you successfully shift your state. Seed is planted and it cannot help but grow into its appointed hour. Your task is not to dig up the seed to see if it's growing, but to remain faithful to your new state, regardless of appearances. The maintenance of your new state is crucial. You must learn to dwell in it, to make it your home. This is where many falter, for they return too quickly to their former state, drawn back by the evidence of their senses and the opinions of others. To maintain your new state, you must discipline your thoughts and inner conversations. You must speak from the state of fulfillment, see from it, think from it, and feel from it. Your entire consciousness must be aligned with the reality of your desire fulfilled. Let me share with you a personal experience. Years ago, in New York City during the Depression, I desired to travel to Barbados to visit my family. I had no money, no means of getting there, but rather than focus on the lack, I constructed a scene of being in my family home in Barbados. Each night, as I fell asleep, I would imagine lying in my bed in Barbados, hearing the familiar sounds of the island, feeling the tropical breeze, smelling the distinct fragrance of my childhood home. I would fall asleep in this state, feeling the reality of being in Barbados. Within a few weeks, an unexpected series of events unfolded. A friend offered me a ticket, another provided spending money, and soon I found myself actually in Barbados, in the very room I had imagined. The outer world had rearranged itself to conform to my inner state. This is the law, and it never fails. But you must apply it with conviction and persist until your new state feels natural to you. For what feels natural to you defines your reality. Now let us delve deeper into the mechanics of this process. When I speak of parallel realities, I am speaking of something more profound than mere possibility. I am speaking of actual worlds complete in themselves, awaiting your entrance. Think of it this way: God's infinite mind contains all possible states, all possible worlds. They exist now, complete and perfect. Your individual consciousness is like a tuner receiving the signals from the particular frequency which it is attuned. Change your attunement, and you change your world. This is not philosophy, this is practical metaphysics. This is the art of living deliberately, of choosing your reality rather than accepting one imposed upon you. This is the meaning behind the biblical injunction to choose this day whom we will serve. Many live their entire lives never realizing that they are choosing their reality in every moment by the state of consciousness they occupy. They believe themselves victims of circumstance, subject to the whims of an external world. But I tell you that all causation is from within out, never from without in. The outer world is simply a report, a shadow of your inner activity. Change your inner activity, and the outer must follow, for the outer is only the inner projected. Let me give you a specific technique to practice. I call it living from the end. It is the art of assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled and living within that assumption as though it were already an accomplished fact. Begin by defining your desire clearly. Then ask yourself, how would I feel if this desire were now fulfilled? Capture that feeling, that state of consciousness. Then throughout your day, recall this feeling and dwell in it as often as possible. When you wake in the morning, before rising from your bed, enter this state. Feel the joy, the relief, the satisfaction of your desire fulfilled. Carry this feeling with you as you go about your day. Return to it whenever your attention is not required elsewhere. At night, as you fall asleep, once again assume this feeling. For the feeling tone you carry as you fall asleep is particularly potent in shaping your subconscious patterns, which in turn shape your outer world. This practice, maintained faithfully, will shift your entire consciousness to the state that corresponds to your desire fulfilled. And as your consciousness shifts, your experience must follow. Remember, though, that this is not a technique of escape from problems. It is a technique of transformation. You are not denying the facts of your present experience. You are transcending them by shifting to a state where different facts prevail. The Bible tells us, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." This transformation is what we are accomplishing through the disciplined use of imagination. We are literally renewing our minds, changing the content of our consciousness, and thereby changing our world. Now, some of you may be wondering about obstacles. You may be thinking, but what about the conditions of my life? What about the people who oppose me? What about my limitations? I say to you, there are no obstacles in consciousness. In your imagination, you are free from all limitations. And since the imagination creates reality, when you change an imagination, the outer world must change to match it. If someone in your life seems to oppose your desire, you need not change them through persuasion or force. Change your concept of them in your imagination. See them as they would be if your desire were fulfilled. Hear them saying what they would say. See them doing what they would do if your desire were now a fact. This inner change in your attitude toward them will produce a corresponding change in their attitude toward you and your desire. For others can only reflect back to you your conception of them. The same applies to circumstances that seem to stand in your way. In your imagination, transcend them. See the end accomplished despite them. Feel the relief and satisfaction of having overcome them. This feeling state will find its way into expression, reorganizing your outer world to match your inner conviction. The world is infinitely responsive to your consciousness. It must be, for it is made of consciousness. The material world that seems so solid and unyielding is actually fluid and plastic to the touch. That touches direct with faith and persistence. Let me tell you of another personal experience that illustrates this principle. When I first came to America, I had a strong desire to share the truth I had discovered. But I had no platform, no audience, no means of reaching people. Rather than focus on these limitations, I began to imagine myself standing before large audiences, sharing these truths. In my imagination, I could see the faces of those listening, feel the satisfaction of communicating effectively, hear the applause and words of appreciation afterward. I did this faithfully, night after night, falling asleep in the consciousness of being a successful speaker, reaching thousands with this message of truth. And though the outer circumstances showed no immediate change, I persisted in my imagination. Within a year, I found myself invited to speak to small groups, then larger ones. Opportunities unfolded in ways I could never have planned. People appeared who helped me establish lectures and classes. And eventually, exactly as I had imagined, I was standing before large audiences throughout America, sharing these very principles we discussed tonight. The outer world had reshaped itself to match my inner conviction, not because I manipulated external circumstances, but because I had shifted my state of consciousness. I had moved from one parallel reality, that of being unknown and without a platform, to another reality where I was doing exactly what I desired to do. This same principle applies to every area of your life, relationships, career, finances. There is no aspect of human experience that is not subject to this law. For the law is universal and it is absolute, as within, so without, as above, so below. Now, let's explore another dimension of this truth. Not only do parallel realities exist, but you are continuously moving between them, usually unconsciously. Every change in your feeling state, every shift in your concept of self, moves you from one reality to another. Most people do this haphazardly, drifting between states according to the circumstances they encounter and their reactions to those circumstances. But you can do it deliberately, with purpose and direction. Consider your self-concept. The person you believe yourself to be determines the world you experience. If you believe yourself poor, you will experience a world that confirms this belief. If you believe yourself wealthy, you will experience a world that proves you right. The same applies to health, love, success, and every other aspect of life. Your concept of self is like a frequency to which your experience is attuned. Change the frequency, and you change the broadcast you receive. This is why it is written, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your deep, persistent concept of self shapes your entire experience. And you can change this concept through the faithful use of your imagination. Every time you say, I am, you are defining your reality. I am poor, I am sick, I am unlucky. These statements are not descriptions of facts, they are creative declarations that shape facts. Be careful then what you claim with the powerful words, I am. Instead, regardless of appearances, dare to claim, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am fortunate. Not as affirmations to change your circumstances, but as acknowledgments of what is already true in the reality you wish to enter. For remember, you are not creating these states, they already exist. You are simply choosing which state to occupy. And you choose by your concept of self, by what you claim with I am. The Bible tells the story of Jacob, who wrestled with an angel and would not let go until the angel blessed him. The angel asked, "What is your name?" And he replied, "Jacob," which means supplanter or deceiver. But the angel said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel," which means Prince of God. This story illustrates the transformation of self-concept. Jacob had to let go of his old concept of self as a deceiver and accept a new concept as a Prince of God. And as his concept of self changed, his reality changed with it. You too must wrestle with your angel, your ideal self, until you receive the blessing of a new name, a new concept of self. You must persist until you no longer think of your desire as something to be attained, but as something already attained, already part of your identity. This brings us to another important principle, the role of feeling in the manifestation process. It is not enough to visualize or affirm your desire. You must feel it, emotionally experience it as real. Feeling is the secret, the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. For feeling is the language of the subconscious, and it is the subconscious that connects you to the reality you seek. When you genuinely feel wealthy, the feeling of wealth pervades your consciousness and communicates to your deeper mind that wealth is your reality. Your subconscious then aligns all decisions, perceptions, and actions with this feeling of wealth, bringing it into physical expression. The same applies to health, love, success, and all other desires. The feeling is the secret. Capture the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you have found the key to manifestation. But not just any feeling will do. The feeling must be consistent with the state you wish to enter. If you desire wealth but continue to feel lack and limitation, you remain in the reality of poverty. Your feeling determines your frequency, and your frequency determines which parallel reality you experience. So in your imaginal work, focus on capturing the feeling tone of your desire fulfilled. What would it feel like to be, have, or do what you desire? Capture that feeling and dwell in it until it becomes your predominant emotional state. This brings us to another principle, the importance of persistence. Manifestation is not always instantaneous. Sometimes the bridge of incidents that leads to your desire requires time to unfold in the world of space and time. During this period, you must persist in your new state despite any contrary evidence from your senses. This is the meaning of faith, the evidence of things not seen. You must be faithful to your imaginal act, dwelling in the reality of your desire fulfilled, even when your senses deny it. Remember the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho. The Israelites were commanded to march around the walls of Jericho for 7 days, and on the 7th day the walls fell. This story symbolizes the persistence required in consciousness before the outer walls of circumstance crumble. You too must march around the walls of your present limitations, faithful to your vision, until those walls collapse and reveal the promised land of your desire. Many abandon their imaginal work too soon. They try it for a day or two, see no immediate results, and return to their former state. But manifestation follows cosmic law, not human impatience. The seed planted in consciousness needs time to germinate before it appears in the outer world. As Jesus said, first the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear. There is an orderly process of manifestation that unfolds according to its own timing. Your task is to remain faithful to the end, to persist in your new state until it externalizes itself. This persistence requires discipline, for the mind tends to wander back to familiar patterns. You must train your attention to dwell on your desire fulfilled, to reject the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your vision. Each time your mind slips back to the old state, gently bring it back to the new. Each time doubt arises, counter it with the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Eventually, through persistence, the new state becomes your default reality, and manifestation follows naturally. There's another principle I wish to share with you tonight, one that is often overlooked in discussions of manifestation. That is the principle of detachment, or what I call divine indifference. After you have done your imaginal work, after you have shifted your state, and captured the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you must release it. You must let go of anxiety of constant checking to see if it's working, of obsessive focus on results. This detachment is not apathy or abandonment of your desire. Rather, it is supreme confidence that what is done in consciousness is done in reality and needs no further effort on your part. Think of a farmer who plants a seed. He does not dig it up every day to see if it's growing. He plants it, waters it, and then goes about his business, confident that the laws of nature will bring his harvest in due season. Similarly, you plant the seed of your desire and consciousness through your imaginal act. Then you water it with persistence in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But then you must trust the process, going about your daily life with confidence that your harvest is assured. This divine indifference is the mark of true faith. It shows you truly believe in the reality of your imaginal act, so much so that you can release all anxiety about its manifestation. Jesus demonstrated this when he thanked God for having heard him before Lazarus emerged from the tomb. He did not thank God after seeing the results. He thanked him before, showing complete confidence that what was done in consciousness was already an accomplished fact. You too must develop this confidence, this divine indifference to results. Plant your seed, water it faithfully, and then release it to the perfect law that never fails. Now let us address some practical aspects of shifting realities. Many ask me, how often should I engage in this imaginal work? The answer depends on the individual and the desire. For some desires, a single, intense, imaginal act is sufficient. The state is entered so completely with such conviction that no repetition is necessary. The shift occurs in that moment, and manifestation follows. For others, particularly those with deeply entrenched contrary beliefs, daily practice may be necessary. You may need to repeatedly enter your desired state until it becomes more familiar than your former state. The key is not frequency, but depth. One deeply felt, completely real imaginal experience is worth more than 100 shallow visualizations. It is better to enter your desired state deeply once a day than to attempt it superficially 10 times. Quality, not quantity, determines the effectiveness of your imaginal work. Seek depth of feeling, completeness of experience, rather than repetition or duration. Another question often asked is, can I work on multiple desires simultaneously? Yes, you can, but with caution. The mind divided against itself cannot stand. If your desires are compatible, existing harmoniously within the same state of consciousness, you can indeed pursue them together. But if they require different states, different concepts of self, it is better to focus on one at a time. Master the art of shifting to one reality before attempting to enter another. Remember, too, that some desires contain others within them. If you desire wealth for the freedom it will bring, focus on the feeling of freedom directly. If you desire a romantic partner for the love you would experience, focus on the feeling of being loved. Often the greater state contains the lesser within it. Now, what about desires that seem impossible? What about the healing of conditions deemed incurable, the achievement of goals considered beyond reach, the attainment of what the world calls miracles? I tell you that in consciousness, there are no limitations. All states exist now, including states where the impossible is natural and normal. Your task is not to create what does not exist. It is to enter a state where what you desire already exists. Remember the words of Christ, with God all things are possible. And you are God in expression, for God becomes it. Your consciousness is God consciousness, limited only by your acceptance of limitation. So do not be dismayed by the seeming impossibility of your desire. In the reality you seek to enter, it is not only possible, it is already accomplished. Your task is to shift your consciousness to that reality, to enter the state where the impossible is already done. This is the true meaning of prayer. Prayer is not beseeching an external God for favors. It is claiming what is already yours in a parallel reality. It is shifting your consciousness to the state where your desire is fulfilled, and then giving thanks for its fulfillment. As Jesus taught, when you pray, believe that you have received, and you shall receive. Note the tense, believe that you have received, past tense, not that you will receive, but that you have already received. This is entering the state where your desire is already fulfilled. This understanding transforms prayer from supplication to recognition, from asking to accepting, from future hope to present reality. It is the prayer of thanksgiving for what is already accomplished in consciousness, though not yet visible to the senses. Now, as we approach the conclusion of our discussion, let me emphasize one final principle: the importance of living from your new state, not merely visiting it occasionally during meditation or visualization. Many make the mistake of treating their imaginal work as a separate activity from their daily life. They enter their desired state for a few minutes each day, then return to their former state for the remaining hours. This divided consciousness cannot produce the results you seek. You must learn to live from your new state, to make it your home, to speak and act and think from it throughout your day. This means watching your thoughts, your words, your reactions. When you catch yourself thinking from your old state, gently shift back to the new. When you find yourself speaking as the person you no longer wish to be, correct your speech to align with your new identity. In every moment, you have the opportunity to choose which reality you occupy. Choose consciously, choose in alignment with your desire. And remember that this choice is made not just in formal meditation, but in every thought, every word, every reaction throughout your day. The state from which you live determines the reality you experience. So live from the state of your desire fulfilled. Make it your dwelling place, your habitual consciousness, your default reality. Do this, and you will find yourself shifting into parallel reality, where your desire is no longer a desire, but an experience, no longer a future hope, but a present fact. In closing, let me remind you of the words of Scripture: be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This transformation is what we have discussed tonight. The shift from one reality to another through the renewing, the changing of your mind. You are not bound to the reality you now experience. You are free to choose any reality you desire, for all realities exist now in the mind of God, which is your own wonderful human imagination. So choose wisely. Choose the reality that reflects your highest aspirations, your deepest desires, your true nature as a divine being having a human experience. Choose, and through the faithful use of your imagination, enter fully into the reality of your choice. Do this, and you will discover the truth of what I have shared with you tonight. Parallel realities exist, and you have the power to shift into the one that fulfills your heart's desire. Remember always, your imagination is God in action. Use it lovingly, use it wisely, use it faithfully. And all things are possible to you. For imagination creates reality, and the reality you experience is the outpicturing of the state you occupy in consciousness. May the God in you, which is your own wonderful human imagination, guide you into the reality of your fulfilled desire. And may you use this power with love, with wisdom, and with faith for the blessing of yourself and all mankind. Consider for a moment your imagination. You may perceive it as a fleeting daydream, a pleasant distraction, or at best, a tool for creativity. But I say unto you, your imagination is the very workshop of creation, the God-given power through which all things are made manifest. But what does it truly mean to trust your imagination? It is not a matter of indulging in idle fantasies or escapism. It is a state of consciousness, a shift in your very being that aligns you with the creative power of the universe. It is about recognizing that your imagination, far from being separate from reality, is the very substance and source of all that you experience. Let us delve deeper into this profound truth. Your outer world, every experience you have, every circumstance you encounter, is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world, your imaginative acts. And this inner world can be radically altered by learning to trust and use your imagination consciously and purposefully. When you understand this, truly understand it, You realize that by carefully choosing and vividly imagining your desired state, you are actively creating a new reality that will unfold in your experience. This understanding is crucial, for it shifts the entire paradigm of how you approach life. No longer are you a helpless being at the mercy of external circumstances, hoping for favorable conditions. You become the active creator of your reality, knowing that as you imagine and feel your desired state as real, the universe must rearrange itself to match this new inner vision. But how, you may ask, can one truly learn to trust their imagination when the outer world seems so solid and unyielding? The answer lies in understanding the true nature of your imagination. For your imagination is not a mere fantasy maker, and your inner visions are not mere daydreams. Your imagination is the very substance of reality, the clay from which all experience is molded. Let us take a moment to truly understand this. Your subconscious mind, which is one with the universal creative force, does not distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience in the outer world. It accepts as true whatever you feel to be true in your imaginal acts. And once it accepts an idea as true, it proceeds to bring it into manifestation in your physical reality, regardless of how long it takes in clock time or how impossible it may seem given current circumstance. So, when you learn to trust your imagination, when you fall asleep in the absolute conviction that your imagined state is real, you are not engaging in wishful thinking or self-deception. You are actively creating your new reality from within. You are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe, allowing it to work through you and for you to manifest your desires. This, my dear listeners, is the essence of learning to trust your imagination. It is about recognizing that the power to shape your reality lies within you, waiting to be expressed through your conscious imaginal acts. It is about understanding that your outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner imaginative acts, which can be radically altered by learning to trust and use your imagination purposefully. Consider the biblical phrase, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This is not a mere poetic expression or a vague spiritual concept. It is a statement of cosmic law, an invitation to recognize the power of your imagination. For what is faith, if not the ability to see and feel as real that which is not yet manifest in the outer world? When you truly trust your imagination, when you feel the reality of your imagined state with every fiber of your being, you are exercising true faith, and in that moment you are changed. The outer manifestation may take time to catch up, but the inner transformation is instantaneous. But let me be clear, learning to trust your imagination is not about forced visualizations or strained affirmations. It is about a total immersion in the feeling of your desired state being real. When you truly embody this practice, you naturally assume the thoughts, feelings, and inner conversations of the person you desire to be. You go to sleep not as the person bound by current circumstances, but as the person who is already living your desired reality in imagination. Let us explore this further with an example. Imagine a person who desires a loving relationship. Their outer reality shows no signs of this relationship manifesting. Now imagine this person deciding to trust their imagination completely. As they lie in bed, they immerse themselves in the feeling of being deeply loved and cherished. They feel the warmth of their imagined partner's embrace, hear loving words whispered in their ear, experience the joy and security of a fulfilling relationship. They allow this feeling of being loved to permeate every cell of their being. They fall asleep in this state, carrying it into their dreams. When they awaken, something has shifted. They may not see immediate external changes in their relationship status, but internally, they are no longer the same person. They have experienced the reality of being loved, and this new self-concept begins to reshape their outer world. In the days and weeks that follow, they find themselves naturally acting with more self-love and confidence. They interact with others from a place of fullness rather than need. They make choices that align with someone who knows they are worthy of love. And as they do so, their outer world begins to reflect this new inner state. They may find themselves attracting more positive attention, forming deeper matches, and eventually manifesting the loving relationship they had imagined. This principle applies to every aspect of your life. Whether you desire success in your career, improvement in your health, enhancement of your financial situation, or any other change, the key is to trust your imagination completely. Feel the reality of being the person who has what you want. Fall asleep in that state, knowing that as you do so, you are planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind that must grow into your outer reality. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, can simply imagining a different reality really make such a difference? Surely we must deal with the facts of our lives. And to this I say, what you call facts are merely the fruits of past imaginal acts. In the realm of consciousness where all creation takes place, there is only the eternal now. By learning to trust your imagination and living from your desired state in your mind's eye, you can indeed reshape your entire future. For you are planting a seed of a new self-concept that will inevitably grow into manifestation. Remember, the outer world is dead. It has no life of its own. It is your consciousness, your imagination, that gives life to your experiences. When you focus on unwanted circumstances, you are breathing life into a reality you do not desire. But when you learn to trust your imagination and live from your desired state mentally, you are setting in motion a series of events that must culminate in the outer expression of this new inner reality. This, my dear friends, is the true secret to mastering your life. It is about aligning your entire being with a new concept of self, recognizing that this new self-concept is seeking expression through you and allowing it to flow into your experience through the power of your focused imagination and unwavering trust in its reality. But let me warn you, learning to trust your imagination is not always an easy task. The old habits of doubting your inner visions, of letting your internal state be dictated by external conditions, are deeply ingrained. As you lie in bed, attempting to immerse yourself in your imagined reality, the voice of your rational mind may try to convince you that you're fooling yourself, that you must face reality. When this happens, do not fight against these thoughts. Simply observe them, acknowledge them, and then gently return to the feeling of your imagined state. For the war is not won by battling against what you don't want, but by persistently embodying what you do want. This persistence, this unwavering commitment to trusting your imagination in the face of contrary evidence, is what allows you to truly transform your life. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you're trying to listen to a particular station, you don't focus on eliminating all the other stations. You simply tune into the frequency you desire. In the same way, you don't need to fight against your current reality or forcefully push away unwanted conditions. You simply need to tune yourself to the frequency of your desired state, to align your entire consciousness with the person who is already living your ideal life in imagination. This tuning is done through your focused imagination and your ability to generate and maintain the feeling of your desired state being real. Your imagination is the dial that allows you to tune into different frequencies of experience. As you use your imagination to fully embody your desired state, as you feel the reality of being this version of yourself, you are tuning yourself to that frequency, allowing the corresponding experiences to flow into your life. But remember, my friends, while the inner transformation can occur in an instant, as you learn to trust your imagination, the full manifestation in your outer world may take time. The seed planted by your imaginal act will grow, but it must go through its natural stages of development. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate dramatic changes in your external circumstances. Know that the moment you succeeded in fully embodying your desired state in imagination, change became inevitable. As you persist in maintaining your imagined state in your daily life, you will find that your perception of yourself and your world begins to shift. What once seemed like insurmountable obstacles now appear as opportunities for growth. Challenges become stepping stones to success. You begin to see yourself as the empowered, accomplished being you imagined yourself to be. Now, some of you may be wondering, but Neville, how can I ensure that I maintain my trust in my imagination? How can I prevent falling back into old patterns of thinking and feeling when confronted with unchanged circumstances? And to this I say the power of your imagination lies not just in the intensity of the experience, but in the knowing it brings. Once you have experienced the reality of your desired state in imagination, you have tasted the truth of your divine nature. This knowing becomes an anchor, a reference point to which you can always return. In the days and weeks that follow as you begin this practice of trusting your imagination, you may face moments of doubt or challenge when confronted with seemingly unchanged circumstances. In these moments, recall the feeling of your imagined state. Remember the reality of being the person who is already living your ideal life. Let that memory, that knowing guide you back to your desired state of being. For having experienced it once in imagination, you can again sit again and again, each time strengthening your new self-concept. The key is to make your imaginal experience as real and vivid as possible. Engage all your senses. As you lie in bed, preparing for sleep, see yourself as the person who is already living your ideal life. Hear the sounds associated with your success. Feel the textures of your new reality. Smell the sense of your achieved desires. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the fulfillment of being this version of yourself. Make it so real that your rational mind cannot distinguish between this imaginal act and physical reality. But here's a crucial point, my friends. The goal is not to imagine specific events or circumstances. The goal is to capture and embody the essence of your desired state of being. For it is this state of being that is the true attractor of your experiences. Let me illustrate this with an example. Instead of imagining a specific job offer or a particular sum of money, capture the feeling of being successful and financially abundant. Feel security, the freedom, the joy that comes with this state. See yourself moving through life with the confidence and ease of someone who is truly successful and abundant. By focusing on the state of being rather than specific outcomes, you allow the universe to bring your desires to you in ways that might far exceed your specific imaginings. You open yourself to possibilities beyond what your current mindset can conceive. This is the true power of trusting your imagination. As you practice this, you may find that your outer world begins to shift in subtle ways. Perhaps you start to feel more confident and empowered. Or you find yourself naturally making choices that align with your imagined state. Or opportunities that resonate with your new self-concept seem to appear out of nowhere. These are all signs that your inner transformation, born of trusting your imagination, is creating ripples in your outer reality. Don't discount these small changes. Celebrate them. See them as confirmation that the law is working, that your imagined state is taking root. But don't become attached to them or anxiously look for them. Simply acknowledge them with gratitude and continue to live from your imagined state, trusting in the power of your imagination to bring about even greater changes. As you persist in this practice, larger changes will begin to manifest. You may find yourself naturally attracting experiences that align with your new self-concept. You may notice that your relationships improve, that your career takes off, that your health flourishes. And as you continue to maintain your trust in your imagination, you'll discover that life becomes an exciting adventure of ever-expanding possibilities. But remember, the outer manifestation is not the ultimate goal. The goal is a state of being from which all desired experiences naturally flow. This is a crucial point, my friends. When you've truly learned to trust your imagination, when you're fully living from your imagined state, you no longer need external conditions to confirm your state. You're already whole, already complete in your knowing that you are the person you've imagined yourself to be. And paradoxically, it's in this state of inner assurance that you're most likely to experience a life that reflects your ideal self-concept. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do things in the physical world to bring about change? And to this I say, yes, action is part of the process, but it's inspired action, not anxious doing. When you're living from your imagined state, ideas and opportunities will naturally present themselves to you. You'll feel inspired to take certain actions, to move in certain directions. These actions won't feel like struggle or effort. They'll feel natural, joyful, almost effortless. They will be the natural outgrowth of your new state of being, born from your trust in your imagination. This is the difference between trying to make things happen and allowing them to happen. When you're trying to force change, actions feel stressful, born out of fear and reaction to circumstances. When you're truly embodying your imagined state, actions flow naturally from your aligned state, guided by an inner wisdom that knows exactly how to bring about the manifestation of your desires. Consider the example of a seed growing into a mighty oak tree. The seed doesn't strain to become a tree. It doesn't force itself to grow. It simply unfolds naturally, expressing its innate potential. You, my dear listeners, are no different. When you learn to trust your imagination, you allow your life to unfold naturally and beautifully, expressing the infinite potential that is your birthright. But let me be clear, this state of allowing is not passive. It requires an active use of your imagination, a deliberate and focused embodiment of your desired state. It requires faith, not blind faith in external forces, but faith in the creative power of your imagination and your ability to shape your reality through your mental images. This faith is not about believing that things will change someday in the future. It's about knowing that you are who you desire to be now, in this very moment, in your imagination, and that your outer world must inevitably conform to this new inner reality. As you cultivate this faith, as you persist in living from your imagined state, you'll begin to see evidence of your transformation manifesting in your outer world. These signs may start small, a newfound confidence in a situation that would have previously intimidated you, a chance encounter that leads to an unexpected opportunity, a sudden insight that changes everything. Do not discount these signs, no matter how small they may seem, for they are confirmation that your inner transformation, born of trusting your imagination, is indeed shaping your outer reality. They are breadcrumbs leading you to the full realization of the life you are creating in your mind's eye. As we near the conclusion of our discussion, I want to address a common concern that arises when people first encounter this teaching. Many worry that trusting their imagination might lead to a disconnect from reality or irresponsible behavior. But I assure you, my friends, the opposite is true. When you truly understand the principle of trusting your imagination, you realize that you are not separate from your world. As you elevate your own consciousness by living from your imagined state, you are elevating the consciousness of all. Your personal transformation, far from disconnecting you from reality, actually expands the field of possibilities for all. Moreover, when you are coming from a place of living in your imagined state, you naturally have more to give to others. You become a beacon of possibility, a living example of the power of imagination to reshape reality. Your transformation creates a ripple effect, touching the lives of everyone you encounter with your newfound energy, confidence, and joy. This is the true gift of learning to trust your imagination. It's not just about improving your individual life, although that will happen. It's about aligning yourself with the fundamental nature of the universe, which is boundless potential and perpetual creation. It's about recognizing your own divine nature and allowing it to express itself fully through you. In this state of alignment, of living from your imagined state, you become a channel for the most beautiful expressions of life. Ideas flow to you effortlessly. Opportunities present themselves naturally. The right people and circumstances appear in your life at the perfect time. This is the magic of living from your transformed state of being, born from your unwavering trust in your imagination. But remember, this magic is not something external to you. It's not some cosmic force that you need to appease or manipulate. It is the natural expression of your own consciousness, where it's aligned with the truth of your being. You are the power. You are the magic. You are the one who has transformed yourself through the trust in your imagination. As we draw our time together to a close, I want to leave you with a final thought. The principle we've explored tonight, learn to trust your imagination, is not just a technique for personal development. It's about recognizing your true nature as a divine creative being. It's about aligning your entire being with the fundamental truth of who you are and allowing your grandest expression to flow through you. When you live from this understanding, everything changes. The world becomes a friendly place filled with infinite possibilities. You no longer see yourself as a small, separate being struggling against external forces. Instead, you recognize yourself as the author of your own life story, the creator of your own thriving reality. In this state, there's no need to fear the future or doubt your ability to create the life you desire. For you understand that you are the source of all creation in your experience. Your job is simply to maintain your imagined state, to live from that transformed consciousness, and to allow the universe to allow. So, my dear friends, as you leave here tonight, I urge you to embrace this principle with all your heart. Don't see it as a technique to be applied occasionally, but as a way of life to be lived continuously. Use your mighty imagination to immerse yourself fully in your desired state of being. Feel the naturalness of being the empowered divine being you truly are. Live from this state, persist in this knowing, and watch as your world rearranges itself to match your inner vision. Remember, you are not a limited being struggling to improve. You are the infinite consciousness choosing to experience growth and transformation from this particular vantage point. Your imagination is the tool through which you shape your experience. Use it wisely with the awareness of your true nature and the responsibility that comes with it. Go forth and create the fulfilling, joyous life that is your birthright, knowing that with each imaginal act, each moment of trust in your imagination, you are aligning more fully with the truth of limitless nature. Consider for a moment the nature of your nightly dreams. In those vivid nocturnal experiences, do you not find yourself fully immersed in a world that feels real? Do you not interact with people, places, and objects that seem tangible and true? And yet, upon waking, you realize that it was all a creation of your own mind. The simulation I speak of is much like this dream state, only far more intricate and persistent. This simulation, this grand illusion, is sustained by your beliefs, your assumptions, and the habitual patterns of your thoughts and emotions. It is a reflection of your inner state, projected outward into what appears to be an external, objective reality. But I assure you, there is no objective reality separate from your consciousness. You are the dreamer dreaming the dream of your life. Now, You might be asking yourself, if this is true, why can't I simply wish for things to change? Why does the world seem so solid and unyielding to my desires? The answer lies in the power of your subconscious mind and the deep-seated beliefs that govern it. These beliefs act as the laws of physics within your personal simulation. They determine what you perceive as possible or impossible, probable or improbable. To exit this simulation, to break free from the limitations that bind you, you must first understand the nature of your own consciousness. You are not a powerless entity trapped in a physical body, subject to the whims of an indifferent universe. No, you are the operant power, the God force itself, expressing itself through the vehicle of your human form. The key to your liberation lies in the realization that your imagination is not a mere fantasy-making faculty, but the very substance of reality itself. What you imagine with feeling, with unwavering faith, must by necessity become your experience. This is the law that governs all creation, both within and without the simulation. To begin your journey of awakening, you must first become aware of your thoughts and the assumptions that underlie them. Pay close attention to your inner dialogue, to the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible for you. These narratives are the building blocks of your simulated reality. As you become more aware of these thought patterns, you will start to see how they have shaped your experiences. The limitations you've accepted, the failures you've endured, the successes you've achieved, all of these are but reflections of your inner beliefs made manifest in the world of Caesar. But here's the liberating truth. You have the power to change these beliefs. You are not bound by your past experiences or the seeming facts of your current situation. At any moment, you can choose to imagine a new state of being, a new self-concept, and by doing so, initiate a radical transformation of your simulated reality. The practice of revision is a powerful tool in this process of liberation. Each night as you lay your head upon your pillow, take a few moments to replay the events of your day. But instead of accepting them as fixed and unchangeable, use your God-given power of imagination to revise them. See them playing out exactly as you would have wished them to be. Did you have a confrontation with a colleague? Revise it. Imagine the interaction going smoothly with mutual understanding and respect. Did you miss an opportunity? In your imagination, seize it with confidence and grace. By engaging in this practice regularly, you begin to loosen the grip of the simulation's apparent solidity. You remind yourself that reality is fluid, responsive to your consciousness. Another powerful technique for exiting the simulation is the use of affirmations, but not in the superficial way they are often employed. When I speak of affirmations, I mean the deep, emotional acceptance of a new state of being. Instead of repeating empty words, you must feel the truth of your desired state, as if it were already a fact. For instance, if you wish to exit the simulation of lack and enter into a reality of abundance, you might affirm, I am wealthy beyond measure. But the power lies not in the words themselves, but in the feeling they evoke. As you state this affirmation, you must feel the security, the freedom, the joy that comes with true wealth. You must walk, talk, and behave as the wealthy person you claim to be. This is not mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is the active, conscious direction of your creative power. By assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are literally reprogramming the parameters of your personal simulation. Now let us delve deeper into the nature of this simulation and how it relates to time. In your current state of consciousness, you experience time as a linear progression, past, present, future. But I tell you, this too is part of the illusion. All moments, what you call past, present, and future, exist simultaneously in the eternal now. Your power to exit the simulation lies in your ability to select, at will, the version of reality you wish to experience from this infinite field of possibilities. When you change your concept of self, When you assume a new state of consciousness, you are not creating something new. Rather, you are tuning into an already existing version of reality where your desire is fulfilled. Think of it like a radio. Just as all radio frequencies exist simultaneously in the air around you, all possible versions of reality exist in the field of consciousness. Your task is to tune your consciousness to the frequency, the state that corresponds to your desired experience. This understanding liberates you from the tyranny of time and circumstance. No longer are you bound by what has been or what seems to be. You are free to select any reality you choose simply by aligning your consciousness with it through the power of feeling and imagination. But remember, the exit from the simulation is not a destination, it is a continuous process of awakening and self-realization. As you begin to exercise your creative power, as you start to see the direct correlation between your inner states and your outer experiences, you will inevitably encounter resistance. This resistance often manifests as doubt, fear, or the seeming inertia of your current circumstances. The simulation, having been maintained by your habitual thoughts and beliefs for so long, may seem to push back against your efforts to change it. This is perfectly natural and to be expected. The key is to persist in your new assumption, regardless of the evidence of your senses. Remember, the physical world you perceive is not the cause, it is the effect. It is the shadow cast by your consciousness. As you hold steady to your new concept of self, as you remain faithful to your imaginal act, the outer world must, by the very laws that govern the simulation, conform to your inner vision. This persistence in the face of contrary evidence is what I call the art of assuming. It is the confident, unwavering knowing that what you have imagined and felt as real in your consciousness must by necessity materialize in your experience. It is the understanding that the time lag between your imaginal act and its physical manifestation is itself part of the simulation's illusion. As you practice this art of assuming, you will begin to experience what I call signs following. These are synchronicities, seeming coincidences, and bridge of incidents that confirm your imaginal act is taking root in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Welcome these signs, but do not become overly attached to them. They are not the fulfillment of your desire, but rather indicators that you are successfully reprogramming your simulation. Another powerful tool in exiting the simulation is the use of what I call the state akin to sleep. This is a state of consciousness between waking and sleeping, where the rational, analytical mind is quieted and the subconscious becomes more receptive to suggestion. In this twilight state, impress upon your subconscious mind the reality you wish to experience. See yourself as you would be in the fulfillment of your desire. Feel the emotions you would feel. Engage all your senses in this imaginal act. The more vivid and real you can make this experience in your imagination, the more powerfully it will take root in your subconscious and thus in your simulated reality. Now let us address a common misconception about exiting the simulation. Many believe that to break free from the illusion, they must somehow escape the physical world or transcend their human experience. This is not the case. The exit I speak of is not a physical departure, but a shift in consciousness. To exit the simulation is to awaken to your true nature as the creator of your reality. It is to move from a state of unconscious reaction to one of conscious creation. You do not leave the world, you transform it by transforming your conception of it and yourself. As you embark on this journey of awakening, you may find that certain aspects of your life begin to change dramatically. Relationships may shift. Opportunities may arise seemingly out of nowhere. And circumstances that once seemed immovable may suddenly become fluid. This is the natural result of your expanding consciousness. However, it's important to remember that the goal is not to manipulate specific events or control others. The true power lies in controlling your own state of consciousness. As you elevate your self-concept, As you align yourself with higher states of being, your entire world will naturally reconfigure itself to match your new vibration. This process of exiting the simulation also involves a fundamental shift in your understanding of identity. In the simulated reality, you may have identified yourself primarily with your physical body, your personal history, your social roles, or your possessions. But as you awaken, you begin to recognize that your true identity is far more expansive. You are, in essence, pure consciousness, the awareness that underlies all experiences. This consciousness is not limited to your individual persona. It is the very substance of the universe itself. As you align with this truth, you begin to experience a profound sense of unity with all of life. This realization doesn't negate your individual expression, but rather enhances it. You begin to see your human experience as a unique and precious vehicle through which the infinite expresses itself in form. This understanding naturally leads to a greater sense of love, compassion, and reverence for all of creation. As you continue to practice these principles, as you persistently assume the states of consciousness that align with your desires, you will find that the simulation becomes increasingly responsive to your thoughts and feelings. What once seemed like immutable laws of reality begin to bend and flex according to your assumptions. But with this growing power comes a deepening sense of responsibility. As you recognize your role as the creator of your experience, you also realize the importance of disciplining your mind and cultivating thoughts and emotions that serve your highest good and the good of all. This is not about imposing rigid control over your thoughts, but rather about cultivating a loving awareness of your inner world. It's about choosing moment by moment to align with states of consciousness that uplift and inspire you. One powerful practice in this regard is the cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a positive emotion. It is a high vibrational state that aligns you with the abundance and beauty inherent in the universe. By focusing on what you appreciate in your life, by feeling genuinely thankful for what you have and what is coming, you magnetize more experiences that evoke this feeling. Remember, in the simulation of your reality, what you focus on expands. By consistently directing your attention towards what you love, what brings you joy, and what you wish to experience more of, you naturally begin to shift the parameters of your simulation towards these positive states. Another crucial aspect of exiting the simulation is the release of victimhood. In the illusory world, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that you are at the mercy of external forces, be they other people, circumstances, or some notion of fate or luck. But as you awaken to your true nature as the operant power in your life, you must relinquish this disempowering perspective. This doesn't mean denying the challenges or difficulties you may face. Rather, it means approaching them from a place of empowerment, knowing that within you lies the power to transform any situation through the alchemy of your consciousness. When confronted with seeming obstacles or setbacks, instead of reacting with frustration or despair, pause and ask yourself, how would I respond to this situation if I truly believed in my power to shape reality? What assumption, what state of consciousness would transform this challenge into an opportunity? By consistently approaching life from this empowered perspective, you gradually reprogram your subconscious mind. The simulation of victimhood dissolves, replaced by a new reality in which you are the conscious author of your life story. As you progress on this path of awakening, you may find that your desires themselves begin to evolve. What once seemed critically important may lose its allure, while new, more expansive visions take root in your imagination. This is a natural part of the process. As your consciousness expands, as you align more closely with your true nature, your desires are naturally refined and elevate. You may find yourself less concerned with acquiring things or achieving specific outcomes, and more interested in states of being, peace, joy, love, creative expression. This shift is a sign of your growing spiritual maturity, your movement towards a more authentic and fulfilling life. However, This doesn't mean that material desires or worldly achievements become unimportant. Remember, the physical world is not separate from spirit. It is spirit made visible. Your ability to manifest your desires in the tangible world is a reflection of your alignment with your creative power. The key is to desire from a place of fullness rather than lack, to create as an expression of your abundant nature rather than from a sense of need or insufficiency. As you continue to apply these principles, as you persistently work to exit the simulation of limitation and lack, you will inevitably experience moments of doubt. There will be times when the old patterns reassert themselves, when the simulation seems particularly convincing in its solidity and resistance to change. In these moments, it's crucial to remember that doubt itself is part of the simulation. It is a thought pattern, a state of consciousness that you can choose to step out of. When doubt arises, recognize it for what it is, a habitual response of the old self-concept, and gently but firmly redirect your attention to the truth of your being. Remind yourself, I am the operant power in my life. My consciousness creates my reality. This doubt is not the truth. It is merely a passing state that I can choose to release. Then consciously realign yourself with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, with the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire. This practice of self-awareness and conscious choice is at the heart of exiting the simulation. It is the continuous moment-by-moment work of awakening. Each time you catch yourself falling into old patterns and choose instead to align with your higher self, you weaken the grip of the simulation and strengthen your connection to your true creative power. As you progress on this journey, you may find that your perception of the world around you begins to shift in profound ways. The solid, fixed reality you once perceived gives way to a more fluid, responsive universe. You start to see the interconnectedness of all things, the underlying unity beneath the apparent diversity of forms. This shift in perception is not mere philosophical understanding. It is a lived experience. You begin to feel in every fiber of your being that you are not separate from the world around you, but an integral part of it. The boundaries between self and other, between inner and outer, begin to blur. In this state of expanded awareness, manifestation becomes less about making things happen through force of will, and more about aligning with the natural flow of creation. You begin to sense the perfect timing of the universe, the intricate web of connections that brings your desires to fruition in ways often wonderful than you could have imagined. This doesn't mean you become passive or fatalistic. Rather, you learn to combine focused intention with a deep trust in the wisdom of the universe. You set your intentions clearly, you imagine and feel them as real, and then you release them, allowing the infinite intelligence of life to bring them about in the most harmonious way. As you deepen in this practice, you may find that your very concept of desire and fulfillment evolves. The exit from the simulation is not about getting everything you think you want. It's about aligning with your true nature, with the deepest longings of your soul. You may discover that what you truly desire is not the acquisition of things or the achievement of specific outcomes, but rather the full, free expression of your unique essence. You may find that your greatest joy comes not from having or doing, but from allowing the infinite to express itself through you in its own unique way. This shift in perspective brings with it a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. You no longer feel driven by lack or fear, constantly striving to become something other than what you are. Instead, you rest in the knowledge of your inherent completeness, allowing your life to unfold as a joyous expression of your true nature. But make no mistake, this state of being is not one of passive contentment. It is incredibly dynamic and creative. From this place of alignment with your true self, you naturally become a powerful force for positive change in the world. Your very presence becomes a catalyst for awakening in others. As you walk through the world in this awakened state, you will find that people are naturally drawn to you. They may not understand why, but they sense the authenticity and power of your being. Your relationships become more genuine and fulfilling as you no longer approach others from a place of need or expectation, but from a place of fullness and love. In this awakened state, you become a master of your own reality. The simulation that once seemed to control you becomes a playground for your creative expression. You understand that every experience, every interaction, every moment is an opportunity to choose anew, to align with higher states of consciousness, and to bring more light and love into the world. As you continue to practice these principles, you'll find that the exit from the simulation is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process of expansion and deepening. Each day brings new opportunities to release limiting beliefs, to imagine greater possibilities, and to embody more fully the truth of your divine nature. Embrace these opportunities with joy and curiosity, knowing that each step forward on this path brings you closer to the full realization of your potential. Remember, dear friends, that you are not alone on this journey. As you awaken, as you step out of the simulation of separation and limitation, you become increasingly aware of the interconnected web of consciousness that unites all beings. You begin to sense the support and guidance available to you from both seen and unseen realms. Trust in this support. Open yourself to receive it, and allow it to uplift and inspire you as you continue to expand and evolve. In conclusion, know that the power to exit the simulation has always been within you. It is your birthright as a divine created being. By consistently aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the truth of your being, by persistently imagining and embodying the reality you wish to experience, you dissolve the illusion of limitation and step into the boundless freedom that is your true nature. Go forth with confidence, with love, and with the unshakable knowing that you are the author of your reality, the creator of your world. The simulation has no power over you except that which you grant it. Choose wisely, choose lovingly, and watch in awe your world transforms before your very eyes.